What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I gotta have that Tiege pack. Tiege makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun, and a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing, my favorite part about Tiege Hanley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tiege Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Tiege Hanley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Tiege pack. Feel the Tiege, my friends. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I am your host, Anton Daniels, and I'm excited to be before you today. Thank you, friends. Thank you, family. First and foremost, I want to make sure that I acknowledge my people. But before we acknowledge any cash apps or anything like that, let me make sure that I send some prayers up, because my guy Kojak says mom's is back in the hospital and he need prayer. So let me just acknowledge the people that support the show, because we all go through life circumstances, right? And so I literally just got that message prior to, and I've known Kojak since 9th grade, since I was 13, 14 years old. So let me just send up a quick prayer for my dog Kojak. If you guys could send up a quick prayer on behalf of Kojak, it'd be much appreciated, because we want to make sure that it rains on the just and the unjust. Life happens to all of us, and we don't want our people to know that they're going through it alone. We got your back, Kojak. Hopefully you get this message during this live stream, and I'm praying for you and your family. So I'll keep you updated as he keeps me updated, and prayers up for Kojak. So, outside of that, I definitely want to say that I love you guys. Thank you for continuing to rock with me. This will be the last week this year that I live stream in the studio. So I'm looking forward to being in Miami and live streaming next week live from Miami. And I'm going to make sure that I got all of my equipment and my cameras and my laptops and everything, so that we can make sure that we still keep it rocking and we going into 2024 with great momentum. How y'all feeling in the chat today? Y'all give me a update of how y'all doing in the chat today. One word. One word. It's Monday. It's Monday. Give me your general sentiment of how you feel going into this Monday morning. I know here over in Detroit, it's snowing, but it's not sticking. So give me an update of how it is that y'all feeling in the chat today. Give me one word. You said word, relaxed, solid, good, tired, optimistic, energized, cold, recovering, rejuvenated, fantastic, productive, great. Miami meetup. Focused, splendid, stupendous, worked, struggling, shaking my head, frustrated, work, energized, restful, ready, focused, feeling money on a Monday, pressured, good, determined, focused, good, planning, stronger, energized, underdog, defeated. Come on, man. Ready, jazzy, symptastic, motivated, inspired, sore. That's good. Blessed, exhausted, ready, empowered, nice, blessed. Spectacular, focus, says Vanessa. J Hub says blessed. Ed Hill says Lions. Martin Meck says blessed. Kevin One says morning salute. Working, maintaining, says Spaces. Self-motivated. Auspicious, says Millennial Mark TV. What up, Millennial Mark? Rested, profitable, proud American, pressured, struggling as well. Well, love, says Brittany B. Shout out to Brittany B. Well, let me share this with y'all really quickly. I was contemplating what my year was like. Shout out to Brock. I'm gonna read the super chats and acknowledge the Cash App shortly. I was contemplating and going over what this year was like for me, and a lot of people don't even realize that even though I get on this live stream and I have great motivation and I got a good spirit and I'm generally on top of things 9.9 times out of 10. Shout out to my dog Motivation in there. I go through things too. And I was saying to myself, man, have I taken a step backwards this year? You know, because I do a self-check every month. And I go through this list of things that I've wanted to accomplish throughout the year. And although you may accomplish a lot of things in this space, you may have taken a step back in this space. So, for example, you know, I was going over and I was looking at the property because the framers are there today. And so they're working and all of that stuff. But I wanted to have one of the properties that I was developing to be finished this year. And so I know that it won't be finished until the spring, technically. Late winter, early spring. And then I was going through and I was trying to put a deal together in order to get this commercial property purchase, cash. And it's a lot. It's a lot going back and forth, negotiating. And, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it done before I leave to go to Miami and stuff. And so a lot of the different goals and stuff that I wanted to accomplish, as well as the personal goals, right? I didn't hit some of the milestones that I wanted to hit, but I made some progress. And then I felt like I was going backwards a little bit. And so it was a little bit disappointing because even though I did really well financially and stuff like that, I don't feel as though I did as well as I could have been. I think that if I'd have been even more focused, and I know that I'm really, really focused and I work really, really hard, I felt like I could have done more. And so I was a little bit distraught as I was driving in today because I was trying to anticipate and put together over the weekend the things that I wanted to accomplish going into 2024. So let me just help y'all to understand that when we do this Millionaire Morning Show, you are not alone, okay? Every single person on the face of this earth, I don't care if they're a movie star, a basketball star, whatever. All of these people, myself included, go through things. You are not by yourself. When you see me get on here and I exude so much confidence and everything like that, it's because I'm confident in where it is that I'm going, not necessarily what it was that I endured through. The things that I endured through is what gives me so much confidence going forward into where it is and I'm looking to go. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when y'all go over here and y'all say, don't sit here and tell me that you feel defeated. Use the things that you've been through as a trampoline or a learning experience so that you can go forward and be successful. Let me tell you something. I've been through some things in my life. You know, the thing that they criticized me the most for wasn't even a failure on an optics level, like visibility. You know, the thing that I catch the most, and I love being transparent because, again, we are family. Regardless of whoever the casual watchers are and stuff like that, the people, you, me, the people that tune in every day, even if you're not a bag chaser, and I encourage you to become a bag chaser because I got some great things lined up for 2024. You know, the thing that I get criticized the most as far as from a business perspective is the fact that, you know, my restaurant, they criticize me even though I put in all of my own money. It took me $114,000 of my own money to build it from scratch. But what they don't tell you or what you don't know in the context behind it is that the reason that I was building the restaurant in the first place was a vehicle to help retire my father. And so he was basically going to move on from being the maintenance guy over at the facility that I was living at over into actually running his own thing. And then we were going to expand it and he was kind of just going to oversee it. And that was going to be his retirement gift for me, right? And in the time that I was building that restaurant in 2017, we were out celebrating because we had just hit a milestone and everything was going swimmingly well. And we had all of the stuff on deck. And I went to work. It was 2017, right? And I was working at the bank and I was doing really well and everything was going great. Me and my father had this solid, great relationship. And I went to work and I talked to him that morning and we talked for 2.5 hours. And then 3 hours later, I got a phone call from the police and it was like, yo, you got to come back to the house. So I went back to the house and they got me off of work and I kind of had an idea what was going on, but I didn't know who it was as it was related to. And they told me, they said, listen, your father got into an accident and he gone. Your father got into an accident and he's gone. And we were in the middle of building this thing. And the reason why I was so adamant about finishing it was because it was symbolic to me. It wasn't about the restaurant because, again, it wasn't for me. It was about what it was that it represented. And so it seems as though right there, and my best friend, he was my best friend, the person that had basically guided me through every aspect of my life. And so in the middle of us building that thing from scratch, we had bought the space, transferred it over from a cash advance space, and we had been putting this thing together, right? And so in the middle of building it, he was there that day, he was gone the next day, and this is in 2017, right? And it seems like every single possible thing that went wrong right after that. Battling with inspectors, trying to get stuff done. I had to soldier through. I had no time to be able to grieve. Then I got hit with the idea that my father had all of these taxes that he had, back taxes. And so I didn't want my mother to be settled with that. And so then I had to take care of my mother and then, you know, so many different things. And then in the middle of that, my Rita's grandmother passed away. So she's grieving. And then it was so many other things and people were interdependent on us and all of this stuff, right? And it seemed as though in the middle of all of the things that I thought that God had told me that I was destined to do and achieve, that I was just going to completely fall apart mentally because I had so many things on my plate. But then I remembered all of the things that my father taught me. I remembered the things that I went through in 2008 going broke. I remembered all of the things in the past that propelled me that I had overcame and the problems and the trouble. And then all of a sudden, it just didn't seem that bad no more because in my mind, what more could you do to me? If this was a test, then you was just going to have to hit me with a better punch than that. If the devil was walking to and from through the earth, and then he had a conversation with God and he said, listen, I know that you think that guy is serving you over there, but he'll curse you if I touch his family, if I touch his finances, if I touch his businesses, if I take away his wife's mother or his wife's grandmother or his father Or I saddle them with financial issues that ain't even related to him. And then I have this person mess up on his stuff and he was an authorized user and he went ahead and finessed him. Or this person stole his identity and all of this other type of stuff. I'm telling you, if there was anything that could have happened at that particular time, it was that. And it was like one day I woke up and I just remembered who I was, and it was no longer endurance. It was more or less an opportunity for me to prove myself. Because let me tell you something, no matter what you going through at that particular time, no matter what you going through at that particular time, it's always going to be light at the end of the tunnel. It's always going to be light at the end of the tunnel. Always. And all you got to do is endure. What you think that you're going to be in this situation forever, don't let a temporary circumstance determine what your lifestyle is going to be for the rest of your life. We all go through things. Trust me, I'm telling you. Every last person on this earth, I don't care how much they exude confidence, I don't care how much money that they got, they all go through things. All of them. You, me, but life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. That's what my father used to tell me all the time. 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you react to it. If you're sitting here and you telling me that you're not going to be able to endure through it, I'm going to tell you that you're a liar. You a liar. And it's like the minute that I changed my attitude towards my circumstances, everything switched off for me. And it wasn't that my circumstances really changed. It was the way that I approached my circumstances then yielded better results. I started moving in a more positive way. Anything that anybody has, I'm going to be honest with you. One of the things that I had to do is I had to remove myself around people that kept telling me that it was okay to be able to fail. Oh, it's okay. It happens to everybody. Not to me. Not to me. I went through it so that I can get to it. It's not okay for me. Yeah, I may have some setbacks, but I'm definitely going to win the war. Listen, the battle might have been a little bit tumultuous, but I guarantee you I'm going to win the war. I'm destined to do it. It's not even a choice. I don't have a choice. And then I had to realize, man, what are you sitting here grieving your father for? He taught you everything. Y'all had a great relationship. You have no regrets with regard to how it is that your relationship was. Nothing. Y'all was in a great space. Y'all spent the last 4 years of your life talking on the phone and visiting each other and talking and having long conversations, sometimes way more than the person that I was laying next to every day. Talked on the phone for 4 hours a day, in between every single break. Everything. He not here no more. He up here in heaven. You know what I'm saying? One of the greatest men that I've ever seen in my entire life. He ain't suffering on this earth. We the ones that's still down here. So now we have a task to fulfill. And then it didn't become about money anymore. It was more about a sense of purpose, because I then remembered all of the things that I was taught when I was reading my scriptures. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. Then we started to really, really take off. Then we started to really, really become successful. Then we had all of the successes. That's when I determined that I was going ahead and retire in 2019. And then God was telling me like, nah, you got more work to do. Let's get busy. You're not retiring at 37 years old. You got a lot of things to do. Let's get it. Let's do it. Let's be successful. Oh, you going to go through it. What you think that you ain't going to have no more obstacles, you ain't going to have no more things that come in your life, you ain't going to have no people that doubt you, you ain't going to have no problems. Every single video that I drop, I go in and I give a quick look at the comments, and you know what I see? I dropped a video on Friday, Saturday, and I broke down and I was showing people, hey, this is what's happening with regard to the property that I'm building, and this is the new car that I got, and the new Bronco, and all of this other type of stuff. And you know what I seen inside of the comments? Oh, he only saying that because he in Detroit. Oh, he only doing this. Oh, he don't know what he doing. It's going to be doubters no matter how many receipts that you show, no matter how successful that you become, no matter what you overcome, no matter how far you get in life, it's always going to be a group of people that doubt you. You going to let them determine what your success is going to be, or are you going to determine what it is that your success is going to be based off of what it is that you're supposed to do? I know that the culture that I'm in, is going to yield people that want to see me fail. There are more people that look like me than people that don't look like me that come from where I come from, that watch me every day so that they can figure out and see where my failures is going to be. I know that it's existing. I know where they live. I know what is going to happen. I see it. It's already predicted that it's going to happen. You think I don't see the comments or the people that send me DMs or the people that reach out to my wife and the women that say that they can't wait for me to get divorced? You think I don't see people waiting for me to fail? They can't wait for me to be able to get some problems or some troubles. You think I don't know that that's coming? You think that your life is going to be the culmination of you just being and living a soft life like you some feminine woman? Man, you a soldier. You a soldier. We out here to kill, steal, and destroy. And when I say kill, steal, and destroy, I'm talking about of everything that is not of us, anybody that is standing in our way. We are not here to turn the other cheek. We are here to destroy the enemy. Destroy them, put our foot on them. Listen, just because I don't say nothing don't mean that I'm not paying attention, and I am very, very, very sure of what it is that I'm going to do to you when I get to a certain level. I just ain't made time for you yet because I ain't got time for you. I'm so busy being selfish on what it is that I need to do in order to develop myself so that when I destroy you utterly. I didn't forget you. I didn't forget you. I promise you. Listen, I don't have to say your names. Remember this. I have not forgotten about you. I am negatively motivated, but positively gonna get to you. I promise you. And my best way to get back at you is to continue to be great. While you niggas is out there going homeless, we over here building homes. While you was out there going homeless, we gonna continue to build homes. No financing, no none of that. We gonna run it up all day, every day, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And when I get to you, when I finish you off, it's gonna be for once and for all. When I finally get to you, it's gonna be over. I have a list of every single person that continues to get in my way. I will destroy. I am going to get to you. I promise you, I have not forgotten about you. I pray to God to not let a day go by without me remembering what it is that people said so that I can continue to stay motivated, because sometimes I get a little bit bored with my own success. Trust me, you are going to get to the other side. You're going to be successful. It's not going to be people that stop doubting you. It's going to be that. I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten. You are not forsaken. Anytime that I decide that I wanted to destroy you, I promise you I'm going to get to you. Listen. One of my favorite movies is Heat with Al Pacino. One of my favorite movies is Heat. And the one thing that really bothered me about that movie was the ending, is that, you know, they always said that he was always going to come back and get to that person. He don't forget. He got to make sure he tie up every single loose end before he go on vacation. The difference between me and him, the thing that I don't identify with that movie is that I don't plan on going on vacation. To the day that I pass, I am going to be fervent, I'm going to be fruitful, and I am going to work. And so I'm going to take my crown once I pass away. But I promise you, I pray to God that he does not let me have any loose end that is not tied up, to leave everything on the flow. Everything on the flow. I wouldn't even want to be my enemy, because I'm a different type of enemy. Not overt, covert. It's a little different. So listen, for all of you that feel defeated or deflated, that's cool. Go through it right now. But when you wake up in the morning or you get off this live stream, make sure that you girded up, you ready to work, you ready to get to it, because it's going to be better on the other side. Stop wallowing and give the same amount of energy to your successes as you do to your failures. You did not hear this message by happenstance. This is for you. All right? Okay. So let me go ahead and read some of these super chats. First, I'm going to acknowledge the Cash Apps. Shout out to Samuel Silver in the building, says, for the tea, because you don't drink coffee. Appreciate you for the Cash App, Sam Silver. Mike, that dude, is in the building. I appreciate you, Mike. That dude always holding me down. Keith Cunningham sent me a 20 ball. I appreciate you, Keith. Thank you, my friend. Gone Postal was in the building. I appreciate you, Gone Postal. Kenneth Wise, thank you for the fireball. Cornelius Jackson says, a whole bunch of addicts defending their drug. I ain't forgot about you. Thank you, my friend. And Quiana McMillan says, I got you. Thank you, Quiana. I appreciate you. And then Justin says you the best on YouTube. Thank you, Justin. Let me make sure I acknowledge some of the super chats. Queen V says, take me on through the workday, AD. Hey, everybody. If this is not your favorite show, if you are not absolutely positively subscribed and hitting the like button for the Millionaire Morning Show, I don't know what these people is doing. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Brock says, early past the love offering. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Brock. Pretty Boy is in the building, says, random thought, but when you went to Japan, did you ever get that A5 steak? And so did you vlog it? I did get it. But one of the things that I like to do when I go on vacation is truly live in the moment. So it was one of the best tasting things that I had ever had in my entire life. Eric Harris says, watching this morning show has encouraged me to stay on my purpose. Just turned 35 yesterday and I'm feeling great. Happy birthday. Patty Jackson says, Anton, I want to let you in on a secret. There's one thing that scared the living hell out of Chicago savages, and his name is DuPage County. It's the next county west of Chicago, and they don't play. Ooh, I'm going to have to do a little bit of research. Okay. Sportsaholic Gerard says, good morning, Bag Chasers. And so now the Lions want to pound their chest. Huh? Yeah, we looking forward to the playoffs already. Tag Noop in the building says, I studied the interview like a king. Video and used the tips for my NBA interview. Received the news that I've been admitted to Emory Bag Time. Shout out to the Bag Chasers. Great interview for you, video for y'all. I'm going through this week also and making sure that I'm updating the platform so that all of the interviews, some people were saying that, oh man, it's not playing for me. Some videos is not playing for me. So I'm going through every single video this week before we go into the new year to make sure that that's ideal. Chris Moore says, preach. Gerald is in the building, says, thanks, AD. I guarantee you the haters are watching the stream right now. Facts. I hope they getting something out of it. Preacher, says Brian Turner. I appreciate you. Latrell is in the building, says, hustling to the haters, ask, are you hiring? They already have. 187 says, I love the naysayers. They keep me motivated. Shout out to my dog, 187. Shout out to Ward Elliott, says, I'm new to your podcast. Just found it yesterday. Thank you for your views and common sense. Go Lions. Shout out to my Detroit Brethren is in the building. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into the show. Sponsored by Tiege Hanley, 30% off your first order plus a free gift. We got a full show ahead for you guys today, all right? So, in addition to that, I also want you guys to make sure that you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to my people on Facebook. Also, make sure you tap into the Patreon. The link is in the description. And let's go ahead and get started with the show. AL, I'm definitely going to be reading that crazy super chat shortly. But let's go ahead and get started with the show, ladies and gentlemen. This part of the show is called Quick Hits. Quick Hits is the portion of the show that we bring to the front of the congregation, but we don't necessarily want to dedicate an entire segment to it. We just want to make sure that we bring you up to speed on what's happening out here in the streets, all right? So, first thing on Quick Hits is there is a sex scandal over in the Senate, ladies and gentlemen.
New at 10, the United States Senate is being rocked by a sex scandal. U.S. Capitol Police are investigating after a sex tape surfaced online. It showed two men engaged in sex acts inside room 216 of the Hare Senate Office building. That's a famous hearing room where U.S. senators have grilled high-profile presidential nominees, including Supreme Court justices. It's unclear if the tape will be considered criminal conduct, but it may have violated Senate ethics.
So, obviously, there's a sex tape that's rocking the Senate, Washington scandal in the Senate hearing room. They're saying that Capitol Hill was rocked over the weekend by the circulation of an explicit video of two men apparently having sex in a congressional hearing room with each other. The 8-second clip was first posted Friday evening by a right-wing media website, The Daily Caller, and was reportedly leaked from a private group chat for sassy men in politics. That's crazy. This is insane. It goes on to say, the report, which did not name the participants and blurred a face that appeared in the video, claimed it was a congressional staffer in the tape and identified the setting as room 216 in the Hart Senate Office building. I'm going to need them to get the disinfectant spray and go ahead and make sure that they spray everything up in there. The Spectator, a conservative British magazine, reported hours earlier that an unnamed staffer for Senator Ben Cardone, Democrat, said publicly shared a series of indecent photos and videos of himself engaging in acts in the so-called hallowed halls of Congress. Goes on to say that the description of one photo in particular bore resemblance to the video shared later by the caller, which is the ones that released the video. The news immediately gained traction in conservative media while details remain scant. Outlets including the New York Post and Washington Examiner identified the staffer as Aiden Mace, a legislative aide for Cardone. In a statement to Politico on Friday night, Cardone's office says Aiden Mace is no longer employed by the U.S. Senate, and it added, "We will have no further comment on the personal matter." It said Cardone, who has spent nearly 4 decades in Congress, announced in May his plans to retire next year. Mace, who is believed to be age 24 and has not responded to a request from comment, posted on LinkedIn on Saturday, "This has been a difficult time for me as I have been attacked for who I love to pursue a political agenda." Okay, so wait. So you decide that you want to bust it open inside of a Senate room 216, and now you've been attacked for who you love, and it's a political agenda. It says, "While some of my actions in the past have shown poor judgment, I love my job and would never disrespect my workplace. Any attempts to characterize my actions otherwise are fabricated, and I will be exploring what legal options are available to me in these matters." And this is all according to Time. All right. So it goes on to talk about a little bit more or whatever, so on and so forth. But basically, long story short, they saying that he was getting bust down inside by another man inside of the Senate building, and they had to let him go. And now he's feeling some type of way, and he typing it out on LinkedIn. All right. So I'm gonna keep y'all up to speed on what's going on with that. In other news, a G League player has decided that he wants to commit the violent act of murder. Let me bring you up to speed.
A desperate search for a missing Las Vegas woman ended with tragedy and a former Stockton Kings player and his girlfriend in handcuffs. 27-year-old Chance Comanche was arrested in connection to a kidnapping turned murder in Las Vegas. The woman's remains found in a Nevada desert. She was identified by Las Vegas police as Morena Rogers. The FBI took Comanche into custody Friday in Sacramento. The Stockton Kings announcing that day they released Comanche from the team. He played for 2 seasons on the NBA G League affiliate of the Sacramento Kings. Las Vegas Metro Police say this all started on December 7th when Rogers was reported missing. Police say 2 days earlier, Rogers had a prearranged meeting with Comanche's girlfriend, 19-year-old Sakari Harnden. Police say the two were friends and Harnden brought Comanche to the meeting. Rogers was not seen or heard from since then. Las Vegas police say detectives obtained evidence to arrest Harnden and Comanche for their role in her kidnapping and disappearance, and ultimately her murder. But they did not elaborate. Still, many questions remain, including the motive and what transpired between the meeting and Rogers' murder. Comanche is being held without bail at the Sacramento County Main Jail.
So, NBA G League player out there in Las Vegas decided him and his girlfriend allegedly wanted to kidnap and then destroy and bury this woman out in the Las Vegas desert. It says that he was arrested Friday after a first-degree kidnapping warrant was reportedly issued in Vegas, and then he was taken to Sacramento County Jail in California. Then on Sunday, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department said in a statement that Comanche and his girlfriend, Sakari Harnden, were facing open murder charges for the death of the woman. The case in question reportedly concerns a 23-year-old medical assistant from Washington State. Her loved one says she was last seen on December 6th during a visit to Vegas with friends. And the day before Rogers' reported disappearance, Rogers' remains were then found in a desert area outside of Las Vegas. It's unclear what led to her death specifically, though police said Rogers and Harnden had a pre-arranged meeting. Well, so much for your possibility of ever getting inside of the NBA, and that is absolutely disrespectful. It's unfortunate, and I guess people are just super evil nowadays. But then in addition to that, I'm going to read that super chat shortly. Thank you, my friend. Last but not least, they're saying that homelessness in the United States of America has hit an all-time high.
Take a drive down Los Angeles' Skid Row, filled with tents, people, and growing frustration.
If I can get back into another residence, then I won't make the same mistakes I made before.
According to new federal data, a record number of people are now unhoused, more than 653,000, a 12% population increase since last year. Mel Tilakaratna runs a nonprofit that provides free showers to people living on the street.
The system is completely overwhelmed.
Tilakaratna points to a rise in housing costs, the opioid epidemic, mental health issues, and the migrant crisis as factors exacerbating the problem in LA.
We have families, asylum seekers to families in LA who become homeless, and prior where we would be able to send them to a motel or a shelter within a couple of days, now there's absolutely no resources.
These issues are also creating friction in major cities. Back in September, New York Mayor Eric Adams revealed new fears as tens of thousands of asylum seekers flooded the city.
I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City.
So there's a homelessness crisis, as though we didn't already know that. And those of us that are on the front lines, one of my passion projects and the things that I volunteer for, that I actually put my hands on, is working with homeless people. And I know what the sentiment is. I know what people are going through. And I could never personally put a dent in it, but it's always been a passion project for me. And there's no end in sight because you have millions and millions of people that continue to cross over into the border. Inflation is already out of control. I think that homelessness and the migrant crisis is going to be at the forefront of this upcoming election. And you have legislators and people in office and people in power that refuse to do nothing about it. And then the people that are voting for them continue to vote them into office, even though they are voting for their own demise. So there's a homeless crisis at hand. People are absolutely suffering. And I don't see any end in sight. I don't see any end in sight. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, that was your quick hits. And let's go ahead and continue on with the show because I got a lot to be able to share with you guys. Aaron says, don't get excited about any trash Detroit teams. Aaron is a man with no home as far as sports is concerned. He don't know whether or not he want to rock out with Boston, Chicago, what. You know, these fair weather fans, they something else, you know what I'm saying? But also, I want to give a round of applause for Unusual Genius is in the building, says, good morning to everyone, first time super chat. Also just joined the Chasers yesterday. Just joined the Chasers also for the year. Got that 15% discount and says, I got to get to the bag. Shout out to the new Chasers. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. The link is in the description. Thank you, Unusual Genius, for supporting and what it is that we do over here at the Chasers, and automatically became family as a result of joining the Patreon. So shout out to you, my friend. I appreciate you. Let me lower this a little bit. I appreciate you for holding us down. Let's get it. Hold on, I got an automatic desk. Let me lower that. Yeah, I got the automatic desk. So you know how I raise up and go down? Let me see. Let me go up. Nah, we gonna go back down. All right, you know what I'm saying? Make sure that we align with the camera. All right, so let's go ahead and let's continue. Thank you, Unusual Genius, and everybody that continues to support the platform. We're gonna go ahead and get into the show. All right, so first things first. It was a wild, and when I say wild, I mean wild. Not the wildest. Aaron, this one is for you, baby. Not the wildest, but absolutely, positively wild weekend over in Chicago. Just over the weekend.
More details emerging tonight from this scene in Bridgeport as police found a body inside the trunk of a burning car around 2 a.m. Friday morning. Community activist Andrew Holmes says the victim is a 15-year-old boy from the north side. He met with the mother of that teen earlier today.
She's trying to hold her memories in of her baby. And the things that she talked about was only his smile. He can light up a room. And you know, the disturbing part about this is her only child.
The family was too shaken to offer a photo of the teen, and we are not releasing his name until the medical examiner completes its autopsy. But Holmes says the victim was a student at Menta Academy on Chicago's South Side. Holmes says he was shot multiple times in the chest in another part of the city before his remains were driven down to this alley and lit on fire near South Parnell in Bridgeport.
As gruesome and as evil as this is and as it sounds, how much do you want to bet? Because listen, nobody just takes a 15-year-old boy. And let's just be honest. Over in Chicago, we know that the majority of the people that are committing the crimes and doing the most gruesome things are people that look like me, that are much, much younger than me. More than likely, they're teenagers, right? And so think about this for a second. This is something that you see in a movie. 15-year-old boy shot in a separate location, driven in a car to a completely different location, and then they set the car on fire. This is Chicago. Listen, this isn't a normal crime. This isn't a breaking in and entering. This isn't a self-defense situation. This ain't no, your girl got into it with another girl and they was fighting over you, and so you got a domestic violence situation that you got to deal with. No, this is not normal. This is not normal. It's not normal for a 15-year-old boy. I have a 15-year-old daughter. I spent an extraordinary amount of time with her this weekend. We went over into her banquet where she got 4 different awards for toughest kicker, toughest athlete. She won 3 national medals this year and so on and so forth. And so while we're celebrating her and all of the parents are gathered together and we're one happy family within my small community, by which I had, my wife flew in and she flew back early in order to be able to attend the banquet. And so we sitting there and we're like proud parents and we're looking at these 15 and 14 and 13-year-olds and 16 and 17-year-olds, and they're celebrating each other, going off to college, some of them, and they're all crying. And then they had their little mini concert where they imitated their favorite rapper, and then they jumped up there and they all had their cameras and their lights up in order to imitate, and they was having a good time. I can only think about, and I can only imagine when this came across my desk, a 15-year-old boy on the other side in Chicago involved in God knows what, getting killed, shot, probably set up, chances are somebody close to him, and then threw in the trunk, and then they set the car on fire. This is all happening in an American city, in the city where Brandon Johnson just outlined what his crime prevention tactic and bill was going to be. That basically said nothing.
We understand that car was stolen from possibly Lansing out in the suburbs from an auto shop. Hopefully those security footage can shed some light on that too.
The registered owner of the vehicle told ABC7 that he initially had no idea what unfolded Friday morning, as his vehicle had been in the shop undergoing repairs. Residents in Bridgeport are now asked to check their Ring cameras, and a $1,000 reward is being offered by these community activists.
Shout out to Mark Meck. I'm going to read that shortly, big dog.
And conviction.
Parents, also ask your children, maybe if your kids go to Men's Academy, ask your children if they heard anything.
They know. You don't think that the parents know who their children are? I know what my daughter is doing before she doing it. I know just by the way that she walk in the house whether or not she was late to school that day, whether she was late to one of her classes. We know who our children are. We know. You know whether or not your kid was involved in some stuff. We know what your kid did. We know all that. We know. They know. We know. Everybody knows what's happening out here in these streets. And kids are less likely to be able to keep their mouth shut for the rest of their life than adults. They know.
We need information to help the detectives bring this case to justice.
So we did just hear from the medical examiner that the cause of death for that 15-year-old boy was a shot to the neck and chest. So we'll soon learn the identity of that boy. In the meantime.
But that's not the only thing that was happening in Chicago over the weekend. Let me bring you up to speed of what's really happening out here in these streets. Because I know y'all think that, oh my God, that was just so bad. But multiply it times 20.
Well, it was a violent weekend in parts of Chicago, including a CTA station. Multiple shootings left nearly 24 wounded. One person has died. One of those shootings was on the Red Line at Roosevelt, leaving 2 people injured. The youngest victim from this weekend's shooting was just a 13-year-old. CBS 2's Andrew Ramos has details from the South Loop.
Well, it's a streak of violence that started Friday evening, and as the weekend got underway, showed no signs of slowing down. As many as 5 shootings alone happening Sunday morning. Gun violence rattled the city of Chicago on what was a brutal weekend for several communities. On Friday night, 4 victims left wounded in 4 separate shootings. The violence continued over the next 48 hours. This map outlining the shootings.
Look at the radius. Look at the diameter. Everything on the left, away from the water, is safe. Everything that goes back into the community and actually into the city is on fire.
From Friday night to Sunday night. The most chaotic scene unfolded Saturday night on the Roosevelt Red Line station in the South Loop, where just after 10 p.m. police say 2 men aged 20 and 25 were shot by another man at the Roosevelt Red Line platform. CPD officers quickly swarmed the scene, arresting the suspect. The 25-year-old who was shot multiple times remains in critical condition. Early Sunday at around 12:40 a.m., cops say a 13-year-old boy who was sitting in the passenger side of a car in the 8700 block of South Marquette Avenue on the south side was shot by someone driving by in a gold Kia.
So let me ask y'all a question. Your 13-year-old out here in the streets, late at night, sitting in a car, doing what? You don't know where your 13-year-old is? Not that we should even be victim shaming, but let's just look at the culture and the dynamics by which these people are even in a position to get themselves hurt in the first place. What are you doing sitting in a car at 13-year-old chilling? Because we all know you ain't just chilling. What are you doing just sitting in a car at 13 years old? And then how does the gold Kia boys drive by and then do a drive-by and hit you up?
He was shot in the chest and was listed in serious condition. And just before the weekend began, a body was found in the trunk of a burning car Friday morning in Bridgeport. CBS 2 has
we know about that one.
That the body was that of a 15-year-old boy from Chicago. The Cook County medical examiner determined the victim died from being shot in the chest and neck. The case of the 15-year-old found in the burning car remains under investigation. No arrests have been made.
That's not it. We got domestic violence cases. We got everything happening in Chicago. Bodies being found in the ponds. We gonna get there. I want to show you your city. I want to show you who it is that you protecting and supporting.
And tonight a family is angry after their loved one, 34-year-old Maria Roque, was shot and killed outside her Austin home Wednesday morning, right in front of her 2 children. The family says they know who shot her and why. The question is how a system designed to protect victims of domestic violence failed. Here's CBS 2's Darius Johnson.
Siblings are like best friends.
She was the mom, I would say that.
Especially when they're the oldest.
My brothers and me, she was the one that would be like, why you guys are arguing?
Andreas Roque is now missing his other half, Maria.
I want to cry, I want to throw things, but I can't.
They've been attached since day one, and the days without her.
It's been really hard for everybody, especially I know my brothers. And right now they're suffering a little bit, but we just want justice for her.
And I hope it's very soon. Very soon.
Wednesday morning, Andreas's heart sank when he got a call from his aunt.
She just told me they took her to the hospital. And I said, what's going on? And she was like, she got shot.
Chicago police say just before 6:30, 34-year-old Maria Roque was shot multiple times in front of her Austin home.
Me hearing that my nephew cry and saying I tried to save her.
Her 2 kids, ages 8 and 14, witnessed their mother take her last breath.
One in the car and one, he heard a shot and see his own mom in the stairs trying to breathe, and she put in CPR, and that's the most horrible.
Her twin and her best friend Madi, both heartbroken, along with those who came to a vigil to honor her just days after her death.
Justice for Maria! May you rest in peace, Angel.
She was a giver.
Yeah.
She wore her heart on her sleeve. You would have never known she was going through the stuff that she was going through, the nightmare that she was living.
The nightmare was a violent relationship. Her family says Maria was scared even after she filed multiple orders of protection. A warrant for her ex-boyfriend's arrest was issued on December 12th after violating that order one day before her death.
She was one to kind of like wipe it off, like it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay.
A new one was granted just hours after she was killed, but it was too late.
A piece of paper is not going to save a life. As you see, Maria's not here. And the paper didn't save her.
Don't worry. Chicago was on fire on multiple different fronts. Let me share with you what happened on the other side of Chicago. Y'all ready for this? Don't worry, we're going to get there.
We have breaking news. A body has been recovered in the search for Brisa Romero.
The Carpentersville teen has been missing.
Oh, y'all thought that it was only black people that had problems or that was going through it? Everybody gonna suffer in Chicago.
Last week, Gabriella Primus is first at 4.
Yeah, Natalie, Anthony, officials are still waiting for formal identification from the coroner, but they believe that the female body that was recovered from the pond does match the description of Brisa. Crews recovered that body earlier this afternoon. Let's show you some chopper footage of crews on scene of the large retention pond where Brisa's Nissan Rogue was pulled out yesterday. Investigators began focusing on this retention pond near Lakeview Parkway and Executive Way in Vernon Hills yesterday after new analysis of cell phone data established the area as a last known location of Brisa's phone. Police say their preliminary investigation suggests Brisa accidentally drove into the pond after she failed to navigate the T intersection. They obtained video from a nearby fast food restaurant that was taken shortly before her phone's last communication with area cell towers. There is currently no indication of foul play. Sonar and dive teams from various Lake County fire departments helped in the recovery effort.
So listen, the devil is running rampant. I know it's not just Chicago, because see, it's a combination of different things. And the reason why I wanted to share with you different stories from different parts all around that particular city is because I honestly just think that it's just a negative spirit that's on that city right now. I think that it's a bad spirit that's on that city right now. And until they get it under control, is no way that you can continue to let people in there when you can't even control. The police can't figure it out. We're finding bodies and finding inside of ponds. Women is getting cut up and shot up by their ex-boyfriends that got kids right in front of them trying to give them CPR. People getting robbed on the red line. Bodies being found from burnt up cars. People is getting carjacked left and right. Where do we live at? Where do we live at? Where do we live at? I don't know if we living in a third world country or if we actually in a space where it's supposed to be reasonable expectations and standards to how we're supposed to conduct ourselves. And most times people know who the culprits are that's performing these crimes and how it is that they catching their bodies and their victims. Let me read some of the super chats. We got a full show for y'all lined up today. We got to get through this stuff. Tech Coach Ralph is in the building, says this Saturday in the Bag Chasers Discord, we had a fireside chat on how to use AI to enhance your resume and cover letters. Pure fire. Shout out to Natasha. If you are a bag chaser or you decide to join the Patreon, make sure that you tap into the Discord. The link to the Discord is in the description of any of the most recent videos. We have a lot of things that is happening and going on all in our Bag Chasers groups, meetups in person, fireside chats, people helping you to get government contracts, showing you how to use artificial intelligence in order to enhance whatever it is that you're doing from a work perspective in your business. There is a lot of things that is happening inside of the Patreon. It is much different than the streets of Chicago, I'll tell you that. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. Willie Love is in the building, says Browns got that get back for the Lions. Chicago season is done. Everything in Chicago is burning down. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Chi. That might be the one city I might skip over. I know they don't like me over there. A Black Samson Gaming says, how'd the Pistons turn losing into an Xbox? I don't know. I'm telling you, I swore off the Pistons. This very morning, I said that, you don't believe me. You don't believe me. This very morning, I promise you. Listen, I'm disgusted. I am absolutely disgusted.
Hello?
Hey, you busy?
No, I'm driving home.
No, listen, this is what You think you so funny, huh? How you like your new car?
I love it. It is so freaking sweet. It's so sweet. So sweet.
I'm glad you like your car. That's not what I called you for.
Oh, okay. Sorry, what?
What did I say that I was going to do about the Pistons and my Pistons tickets going forward?
That you wasn't going to renew?
Ever. I'm done. I'm done. I don't even go to the games no more.
No. I think we got a game coming up this week, don't we?
I'm not going. I don't got no games coming up. I don't got no games coming up. They want to know what you got. They asking what kind of car did you get?
I guess you could tell
I'll tell them later.
Okay.
All right, bye. Anyways, moving on. So no, I am not renewing. I am tired of the Pistons, and it absolutely, I can't do it. I can't do it. So AL says I will never claim a Boston team. You need to. You need to. They bad. Mark Mack in the building. Mark Mack says my life made a drastic uptick. My mental health and experience with my wife, my parents, and siblings have changed for the better. Standing on business when it's God's business. Love the Chasers and Anton for the examples you give to a young man 26 years old. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. The link is in the description. Make sure y'all get into the Patreon. I'm telling y'all, we are a family and we build each other up. We there for each other. We love each other. Chris Moore says, I was carjacked by four minors, 14 years old, and they got 2 years probation. Oh, no. They just going to continue to perform. But Enforcer 2K9 says, I mean, is gentrification really such a bad thing? If the people who live there can't ever seem to get their act together as law-abiding citizens, I wouldn't even gentrify Chicago because the taxes is too high. It don't even make sense. G Collection is in the building with the 20 ball. Said, hey, Anton, became a bag chaser today. Went to the mall over the weekend and down over $300 on clothes for myself. As I walked out the store, you signature shaking my head entered my brain. Kept the clothes, no dusties. Get your budget together, though. Watch the budget video inside of the Patreon before you go shopping. Chris J says, told y'all the Pistons. Oh, man, Chris is just mad because I didn't have Houston at the front of the congregation. Don't worry about it, Chris. We're going to get there. All right, let me continue on with the show because it seems as though Brandon Johnson has decided to pivot. Let me bring y'all up to speed. So first and foremost, let me preface this by saying that Chicago is admitting defeat without admitting defeat. Well, Anton, what do you mean by that? Well, because he don't want to say he was wrong by becoming a sanctuary city. So what he'll do is he'll start to sue the bus companies, They'll start to get mad at people that's bringing these migrants over into their cities. They'll start doing all of that, right? Don't worry about it. Let me bring y'all up to speed on what it is that they decided to do and then how that's starting to play out for them.
5 buses of migrants are expected to arrive in Chicago today as the city adds a new rule around how the city will accept and care for asylum seekers. The new penalty targets private bus operators that don't obey rules on where and when to drop off migrants. Crane's Business reports violating the rules currently results in fines ranging from $2,000 to $10,000. Since last summer, 573 buses have arrived here in the city, with 473 of those since May. The new measure is expected to go before the city council next week for.
So consider, now they want to fine you to death. They don't want to say we're no longer a sanctuary city, but what they are going to start doing is try to go after the buses. You don't believe me? Okay.
We have just learned in the last couple of hours that the city of Chicago has impounded a migrant bus for the first time. The city council passing a measure today to start impounding buses that do not obtain a permit from CDOT and don't drop the migrants off at the designated landing zone. Now, after the vote, Mayor Johnson spoke about.
What's up with all of these women that's in Chicago on the news that's wearing these purple outfits? Everybody wearing purple? Is purple like a thing over in Chicago?
The need for the ordinance to make sure new arrivals are brought to an area where city employees are ready to help.
Putting these companies on notice that this blatant disregard of the city regulations will not be tolerated.
The mayor telling us tonight that multiple buses could be impounded.
Watch breaking.
So now instead of, and I don't even know what kind of what permit do you get? What kind of permit do you get in order to be able to bring people over in the buses that you were readily accepting as far as making sure that you was taking care of business? Now you feeling some type of way. Oh, the Color Purple movie is coming out? Oh. But anyways, Mayor Brandon Johnson is now under fire. Now under fire. And you know why they're under fire? Why he's under fire? And I believe that I'm the foundation of this fire. But he's under fire on a national level. Now all of the national news networks are starting to have a conversation about the performance that's going on with Chicago and Brandon Johnson. And one of the reasons that is because they're directly tying crime to the migrant crisis. We already had problems in Chicago and in multiple other cities as far as our inability to be able to support the police, get these crimes in order, make sure that we hold people accountable for their actions. But instead, what did Illinois do? Illinois, they then supported the SAFE T Act, which then allowed for and advocated for, similar to what Jay-Z and then was advocating for over in New York and across the United States of America, and that the no bail system and making sure that people can get out and do whatever it is that they wanted to do. So people largely was not held accountable for their crime. And so you combine that with what's going on with the migrant crisis, and you basically have one of the most toxic urban American cities in the history of the United States of America. Let me help you to understand how he's under fire from these national networks.
Instead of directing his ire where it belongs, at Joe Biden's administration, Chicago's Democrat Mayor Brandon Johnson has decided to sue bus companies for transporting illegal migrants into his sanctuary city.
Last month, Chicago's City Council passed a series of laws meant to regulate buses dropping off migrants. He's now launched 55 lawsuits against what he's deemed rogue companies for violating the regulations.
So let's be clear. Instead of saying that we were wrong for becoming a sanctuary city, and we need to lay this at the feet of the administration that refused to support our brothers and sisters down there on the southern border, they decide that they want to leverage your tax dollars in order to sue the bus companies that are then profiting off of the idea of driving the migrants up here in the first place. So you don't solve for it at the root of the problem. You just kick the ball down the road and then try to not admit guilt by then leveraging your tax dollars and your legal system and then to pass a bunch of laws that don't actually solve for the problem in order to prevent it and say that it's not my problem. but he's not escaping.
While the mayor's spokesman touts the success of the city's efforts to house migrants in churches and other areas that have brought the number of migrants camped out at O'Hare Airport down from a couple of thousand to just several hundred. Some success.
Here to discuss is Chicago-based journalist William J. Kelly. William, thanks for being with us. Dagan and I talked about this story before we went on, and both of us just thought this is absolutely insane that this guy is suing the bus companies. Can you please explain what's going through his head?
God bless you, Brian and Dagan. Yes, insane is one word. Another word that, as a reporter, I've heard a number of his colleagues as well as members of his own administration off the record telling me incompetent. Mayor Brandon Johnson is not only suing bus companies, but he signed a $29 million contract to build tents for these migrants in the middle of winter. Anyone who's been to Chicago in a winter knows it's Arctic. And get this, as if that weren't bad enough, the tents, he wanted to put the tents on top of a toxic waste dump. So, I mean,
Ain't it funny how a lot of these networks just now starting to catch up to the stuff that we've been talking about over the last year? Isn't it amazing that their audience are so behind on the things that we've been highlighting, bringing to the forefront of the congregation, and putting pressure on? This is why you have to support smaller content creators versus these larger platforms that don't have a clue and is just now starting to try to figure out what's going on in Chicago. By the time that y'all get the news from the larger news networks who basically steal all of our talking points, y'all already messed up. They already sleeping in your airports. They already invaded your city. 500 and plus buses that already came through. 15 million migrants that already came in that they can document, that they can actually track, that came into the city. And so now they want to show up and hold Brandon Johnson accountable.
There are a number of people who are telling me that they don't think Mayor Johnson's going to serve out his full first term because Governor Pritzker does not want any embarrassments during his all-important DNC convention that will be in Chicago in 2024.
The Illinois Environmental Protection Agency had to come in and shut down the construction of those migrant tents. And it was the brave men and women of Brighton Park as part of the city who were so angry about these illegal migrants being housed in their neighborhood. So they were cheering, in essence, the idiocy of their own mayor to try and put the tents on top of toxic waste.
And it's funny, you did Ward Elliott. You actually said it. Detroit has a Republican mayor. I just wonder what Chicago Republicans. Well, let me say this. Our city is moving way different. We refuse, our city refuse to become a migrant city. We not embracing none of this nonsense. And so we just quietly building and continuing to repair and getting all of the federal dollars and all of this stuff. And so one of the benefits of having a certain type of mayor, because Mike Duggan is a former executive and he's also formerly the CEO of a major hospital system. So he understands partnerships. He understands how to look at it from a business perspective. He understands how to run a city and also how to recruit and how to spend the majority of our resource dollars on bringing in more businesses, bringing in more tech companies. During his administration, also, one of the things that really took off is Quicken Loans, right? And we revamped and not just became so dependent on the auto industry, but had other industries become a part of what we doing as far as the fabric of the city. Microsoft moved one of their satellite offices down here. Google moved some of their satellite offices down here. University of Michigan became an anchor down here. A lot of the hospital systems and everything started to become down here. And so we started to advertise and recruit more available workers to be here, live, work, and play in all of the same city. So then they had a vested interest in seeing the city to become successful. But when you recruit somebody who's a social studies teacher, what you're going to find is, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, I'm going to be absolutely transparent. Chicago is becoming what Detroit went through in 2008. You guys are one crisis away from losing everything and going bankrupt. Listen, I seen it. I watched it. I've been living here my entire life. And as much as I rag on Chicago, one of the things that I see is you guys going into the exact same direction that we went into when we couldn't solve for our problems going into 2008. And all it takes is one big crisis to continue to upend anything. Right now, they're mismanaging a budget. They over in a deficit. They fighting. They got wrong leadership in there. And so instead of them looking at it from a business perspective, and it doesn't mean that Detroit doesn't have its problems too, but what I'm saying is that you can't have people that don't understand the importance of how to manage a city correctly, but they're a social studies teacher that continue to depend on the church, and then they're supposed to continue to manage all into success. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And now they get national attention.
But on this note, it's the dopery, the profound stupidity of someone who passes laws that allows him to then sue these bus companies, but then won't actually enforce the laws that are on the books that protect the legal residents of the United States and Chicago and
she
Illinois.
Don't even know what she's saying.
There you go, Dagan. There you go, being right again. That's right.
There you go, being right again.
A horrific stabbing. A migrant was stabbed someone on the CTA, the public transportation in Chicago yesterday at 4:00 in the afternoon on State Street. And sadly, the people of Chicago have not seen any improvement in the crime epidemic, and now we have this migrant epidemic that is now devolving into a crime epidemic. People of the city of Chicago have not been adequately warned whenever there have been numerous crimes committed by migrants, and sadly they are reported as Chicago man.
So the interesting thing about this though is that they're predicting that Mayor Brandon Johnson won't make it past one term. At first, I thought the same thing, but I disagree. I believe that Mayor Johnson, if I have to predict it, I think that y'all going to support Mayor Johnson. I think that first of all, we all know that Chicago was going to have less than a 7% voter turnout rate when it came to y'all election anyway. And then the people that's going to be there is going to be people that's recruited from the church that hold them down. And they going to get the church folks out there to vote for them. And y'all going to be in the same boat that y'all was the year before until y'all find yourselves absolutely in dire straits. And so now you got the mayor at odds with P.B. Pritzker or whatever his name is, the governor of Illinois. And it's just going to be a S show. It's going to be a S-H show. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to spell it because I know that the church is out here listening to the Millionaire Morning Show. Let me read some of these super chats and then I'm going to move over with the show. Jewel Soap Alchemy LLC says, "Sup Anton and Mrs. Rita's new whip. Inventory sold out. Was a vendor at an event in Hofstra. You and the TikTok shop was popping. Time to plan for 2024. Shout out to the Bag Chasers. I appreciate y'all for tapping in." Aaron says, "Anton is so excited about a mediocre season. Didn't 0-16 twice? The Lions go to the playoffs once in a generation, so live it up. Happy for you." You know, the thing about it is that the Lions is 10-4 right now. Hey, what Chicago team is winning? Hockey? The Blackhawks? Don't worry about it, Aaron. I know you salty. I know you feeling some type of way. Dark 80s man says, "Graduated at age 43, and so I'm ready to chase the bag." Shout out to Dark 80s man. I appreciate you. Aaron says, "I might need a lawyer. They get a bag in all situations," speaking of the middleman. Government contracts, that's where the money is. You might need a lawyer. All right, so let's continue on. So next thing is, it's interesting before we get into the money. Trump decided to address the migrant crisis, but then on the flip side of it, liberal leaning media outlets absolutely went at him as a result of it. Let me share with you what happened with Trump. Now he had a rally, and this is what he had to say, and then I'm going to play what people are saying about it, because even though we sit here and we say, hey, we don't necessarily want it, we think that illegal immigration into this country, under the hoax of or under the cloak of oh no, it's asylum seeking people, even though they all just running in here without any kind of documentation whatsoever, people are still against it. So let's continue.
You know, when they let, I think the real number is 15, 16 million people into our country, when they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country. Nobody's even looking at them. They just come in. The crime is going to be tremendous. The terrorism is going to be, and then we built a tremendous piece of the wall, and then we're going to build more. And the election was rigged, and we didn't do it, but I figured they'd just throw it up. Would have taken 3 weeks. It was all built. It was all ready to be just hoisted up. The exact wall that the Border Patrol, who are incredible, Brandon, Judd, and all of the people at Border Patrol, that's exactly what they designed. They had the anti-climb bars. They had everything. And you know what they did? They didn't want it to go up. They sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. Can you believe it? All of that stuff. It's a very sad thing.
So that is the soundbite that got yes, they are coming from Africa too, Chris and Nicole. They're coming from all over. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from Venezuela. They're coming from Guatemala. They're coming from everywhere, all over the globe. They basically are jumping on trains, and they coming over here, and they walking right in, and they don't have anything stopping them and getting in their way. So that is the soundbite, which I'm not really sure where all of the craziness as far as the criticism came from, but I'm going to play for you one of the networks that had a lot to say as a result of him saying that, hey, they let too many people in. They're basically poisoning the blood of what it is that America is supposed to represent. And this is what it is that they had to say. This is CNN, and they leaned heavy into this.
Former President Donald Trump took his anti-immigration rhetoric to a shocking new level today at a rally in New Hampshire. He said that immigrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country, using language that is often employed by white supremacists. CNN's Steve Contorno joins us with more. Steve, sounds like some of the stuff that we've heard from Trump before, but it was really kind of on steroids today, the way he was doubling down, tripling down, and adding some really insensitive layers to his usual rhetoric. What more can
insensitive layers to his usual rhetoric? What are we talking about? We have tens of millions of people that came into this country undocumented. Some of them they even caught and realized that they were criminals. They were arrested previously for doing things that's unsavory to children. People have walked into the country with no repercussions in the middle of multiple different wars and our disagreements with other countries, and they've walked into the country. So now, for some reason, we're supposed to make sure that our language and our rhetoric is a little bit more sensitive to the subject. What are we talking about? Y'all don't throw Michelle B out. Don't throw nobody out of the chat. No banning nobody in the chat. Nobody is disrespectful. Make sure that y'all allow for people in the chat to be able to get off their thoughts. They don't necessarily have to agree with us. They don't have to agree with you. But moderators, let's make sure that we're a little bit more careful of how we're moderating the chat, because chat lives matters. We don't want to live in an echo chamber. We don't want to be in a space where people are completely, they don't have an ability to be able to say what they want to say. We are a free speech show over here at the Millionaire Morning Show. As long as people don't get disrespectful, let people rock out. Let people do what they're going to do. Let them say what they're going to say, and let them have their opinion. As long as they're not consistently disrespectful, then we want to make sure that we don't over-moderate. We want to let people have their opinion, because I absolutely love interacting with the chat, and I see y'all. So don't ban people. Don't do that. Just be very, very careful. I gave y'all the wrench to make sure that y'all weed out the disrespect or the craziness. All right? Let's continue, y'all.
Can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right, Jim. In some ways, it felt like you would be forgiven if you thought you had walked into a Trump rally in 2015 and not 2023, because so many of the themes were reticent of the kind of language he was using 8 years ago. And when it came to...
No, you're right. Freight train Shane. We got over 2,000 people in here watching on multiple different platforms. The likes are incredibly disrespectful. Come on. Get the likes up. Get the likes up.
Discussing undocumented Americans.
Oh, if they not, hey, listen. Let me set some rules also. We got to speak in English. We don't do no Espanol. We don't do no French, right? We are not Pepe Le Pew, so we don't do French. We don't do Española. If your name is not Jesus, then you don't do Española. We don't do Swahili. You know what I'm saying? We don't do nothing except good old English over here on the Millionaire Morning Show. So if you want to talk in the chat, then I want y'all to make sure that y'all do good old English. We don't do Cantonese, Japanese, Chinese. We don't do no other. I know y'all want to speak Mandarin. Ni kwe shua potong kwama. Wa kwe shua idiar potong kwa. All right? We don't do none of that. If y'all want to talk that, then we can create an entirely different platform for that, or we can translate it and have an entirely different channel that's dedicated. All right? But we do good old American Anglais over here on the Millionaire Morning Show. All right? Let's continue.
In general, and undocumented migrants, it was particularly dark and often using this.
Ban Michael Graham. Michael Graham, he got to go. We don't talk in Ebonics. We don't do none of that. All right? When he wanted, I don't even know how that word got through. I thought I had turned on the moderation a little bit differently. All right? Let's continue.
Language that has been adopted by white nationalist groups and roundly criticized by civil rights leaders. And this is something we have heard more and more from him lately as he gets closer and closer to this campaign and people starting to actually vote. Take a listen to what he had to say today.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country.
Now, along with this rhetoric, also...
Time out, luxury bucket list, please. Don't ban them. Time them out so that they can learn their lesson.
Came some policy proposals, including a travel ban on, quote, terror-plagued countries, ideological screening for all immigrants, and, quote, the largest deportation operation in American history. Now, a lot of these are things he said he would do when he was elected president in 2016, and he either ran into the American legal system or political trouble, including with some Republicans, or just sort of dropped off entirely on. And that is one of the criticisms that we have heard, especially from Governor Ron DeSantis. He has no problem with the rhetoric or the policies of President Trump. He has said that Trump didn't do enough when he was president. He was just here a day ago in New Hampshire as well, and he was telling crowds that he would actually be more effective at accomplishing the Trump agenda than Trump himself, Jim.
Listen to how they're trying to finesse you. Listen to how they're trying to finesse you. They're trying to use you against you. So Ron DeSantis is not necessarily against Trump, but they know that he's running in order to try to become the Republican nominee for president. And so what they say is, well, Ron DeSantis said that he didn't do enough. Well, Ron knows that at every single end that Trump was met with obstacles as far as the things that he was supposed to do and the things that he wanted to execute on. Number one was the border wall. We know that he was blocked. We know that the ability to, in order to be able to get funding, Congress holding people and holding things hostage in order to do so. People so focused on the fact that Black Lives Matter was happening at that time, so it was Orange Man bad. And so many people got distracted from the idea that he could not get the budget even passed in order to get stuff done. You can't sit here and try to use rhetoric that other people are leveraging against him because you know that you're wrong. You know that wall should have been built. You know more resources should have been placed at the border. You know people shouldn't be over here running into this country without any kind of repercussions whatsoever. And so now your talking point is, A, he's too sensitive. Oh my God, we got to make sure that we use the right wording in order to prevent these people from feeling offended by the idea that they're coming over here illegally. And we got to do more to get Trump's agenda pushed because he didn't do it as fast as we wanted him to. What kind of argument is that? Very few times do I actually reference CNN stuff, but it's important that I use other things in order to also emphasize or to show you exactly what's going on. I used a CNN article on Friday when we was talking about how they was mad at Navy's black people was mad at Navy Federal because they couldn't getting approved for their mortgages. We're using CNN now, but I don't want to live in a silo. So I want to look at what other news outlets are saying to see what agenda is being pushed so that we can mine it out for ourselves, because we always still going to have our own mind, but we want to see what it is that they're saying across the board. Let's see what else they're saying.
Essie, let me start with you. Your reaction to Trump using white supremacist Klan language. I mean, there aren't any dog whistles here. This is with a bullhorn.
No.
The kind of language.
We about to have these. You know what happens when you got these women with these multicolored glasses and this long red hair? I predict, and I have not seen this clip yet, I predict that they're going to be super liberal and they're going to be offended by what it is that he says.
He's using.
Yeah, he's not winking or nodding. Like you said, he's out and proud, as it were. And I think that's because not only is this kind of a go-to for him, but his base has condensed. It's still very loyal and rabid. We know that, but it's condensed. The folks that might have come on board,
grown, ma'am,
maybe a little skeptically for the first go round, for all the normal reasons, maybe economic policy, taxes, regulations, they're all gone. They're gone because they don't want the freak show and these, these kinds of storylines that come along with Trump. So all that's really left are sort of like the conspiracy theory crowd and folks that would respond to this. And so exploiting white fright is, I think, something you're probably going to hear more from Trump over the next year as he's.
Ma'am, every day we see people walking into this country. It's literally people over in Chicago, Denver, Atlanta. Did y'all know that people are literally... See, I had some other stuff that I had prepared for y'all today, but the show can only be so long, right? The show can only be so long. I'm only willing to go over so long before we really start to deep dive. Did y'all know that they are literally sleeping at the Atlanta airport? That Atlanta city council members and their legislature is starting to try to figure out how they can address homeless people and migrants sleeping at the Atlanta airport that's similar to what it was that they were experiencing in Chicago. So you telling me that all of the people that were protesting about migrants sleeping at the police station at the airport and them building these tent cities, that the budget shortfall as a result of the migrant crisis that happened in the greatest American city in the entire country of New York, now they cutting sanitation, police, now they're cutting funding to school, billions of dollars, that's not a real thing. You're telling me, okay, so we got to be objective. You're telling me that people complaining about the state by which they live in as a direct result of the immigration or migration into the country is conspiracy theory. It's not real. So over 15, 16 million people coming into this country, undocumented, and then getting laws passed that protects them is a conspiracy theory. That's not a real thing. You're telling me that Eric Adams traveling up to Washington, D.C. to get more funding, then said something negative about the Biden administration. Next thing you think, he got an FBI investigation on his tail. You telling me that it ain't real? You telling me that Brandon Johnson and the governor Pritzker arguing back and forth because they're mismanaging funds and a budget deficit that's happening over in Illinois and Chicago is not a real thing? You telling me that Denver and people literally sleeping on the street and looking like the Carter out there, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Seattle, homelessness is at its all-time high. I just displayed that in the quick hits at the very beginning of the show. You telling me that that's not real? So it's a conspiracy theory. You telling me that when they do these Republican debates that nobody is tuning in because everybody automatically know who they want to win? His base is grown. You telling me the 91 lawsuit or the 91 charges that they got over in Georgia and a lawsuit, that frivolous lawsuit that they got happening in New York, that ain't real?
Running for president again.
Yeah, I mean, Molly, Trump also today vowed to investigate prosecutors across the country. He vowed to indemnify police officers as they crack down on crime. He called January 6 prisoners, quote, hostages again. He also predicted that Americans will flee the country in droves if he wins the upcoming election. Let's listen to that one.
As soon as we win, you know what's going to happen. People are going to flood out of the country. They're going to flood out before we even do anything. They're going to leave the country.
And they use sound bites. And you know why they use sound bites? You know why they use sound bites? Because he's saying that Americans are going to leave the country. No. He's saying that people that's not supposed to be here or people that don't align with what American values are going to have to get up out of here because it's going to be some slow singing and flower bringing up in this country. And so they use these quick sound bites in order to try to influence y'all without the additional context, but they're not actually telling the truth. And that's why you can't trust these outlets and why we need independent journalism and these great content creators such as here over at the Millionaire Morning Show to have a conversation, to do the research and to add the additional context because we're not paid by them. We're not moles. We don't determine how it is that we see things based off of what's being swayed for us or what's being written for us to communicate to you online. We got our own thoughts, ladies and gentlemen.
What kind of a campaign platform is this?
Well, I think one of the things that Trump is trying to do, which he did successfully in 2015, 2016, and has not been able to recapture, is he wants that free media, right? In 2016, he got free media by saying crazy stuff, and he'd have that, it ended up being more than $1 billion worth of free media, where he'd say something crazy, then there would be the backlash, that would get coverage too. Then there would be, he doesn't really mean it. It would be a whole, about 4 news cycles. He'd say this thing about the blood of our country, and it would get him so much free media. So I think there are 2 things happening here. What I think Essie was saying is right, that he knows that the people who really will go for him are those George Wallace types, the kind of people for whom, they've never had a mainstream politician, or at least not for a long time, saying the quiet part out loud like this. And so they're very galvanized by it because they truly do believe in this kind of horrendous rhetoric. And
Horrendous rhetoric. Okay. We're going to show you come election time. Anyways, let me read this super chat really quickly. I want to make sure I acknowledge the people. Zoe. Shout out to Zoe in the building, says, Millionaire Morning Show is ahead of the curve and efficient. And we put on a way better show than they do. Listen, it's only a matter of time before they come knocking at our door and they want to continue to try to recruit us. I got an email last week. Ladies and gentlemen, and then they reached out. They actually followed up with a phone call, and they said, hey, we're interested in having you on the show. Have you ever thought about? I was like, interesting. How much y'all think I should sell out for? I don't even got the gold Rolex on. I got my This is my very first Rolex that I ever bought. I actually bought this in Chicago. It's actually documented on my channel. My very first Rolex that I bought this in Chicago. This is my Submariner date. This is my baby. This watch has gotten so much wear. It is still beautiful. Woo! How much y'all think I should sell? Y'all like that one? Look at that. The sub date is beautiful. How much y'all think I should sell y'all out for? 30 million? Is that enough to sell y'all out? Take my 30 and run? He said, you better not. How much is enough money? How much is too much? How much is too much? How much y'all think I would sell y'all out for before we get to the next part of the show? Because I want to get to the money. I want to get to real estate. We got to talk about real estate, y'all. How much would you sell out for? That's the question. 30 million, sell y'all out. You deserve a pro athlete, 10 years, 150. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. I know you're not going to believe it, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. I know you're not going to believe it, but I'm going to tell you the honest to God truth. You know what my number is? You know what my number is? I don't have a number. I can't be bought. I can't be. I already made enough. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm no 100 millionaire or nothing like that or whatever, but I already made enough money to where you can't buy me because I'm not enticed. Because there's nothing that I can buy that I don't already have that I already want. You can't promise me a bigger crib. You can't make me move out of my city. I can already move wherever it is that I want to go. You can't buy me out anymore. I'm not financed by a bank. Everything that we do cash. You can't offer me enough money because you're not going to change my lifestyle. It's no amount of money. I don't care if you offer. Listen, I'm telling you the real. Because the minute that I take the money in order to change the way that I talk, I lose all credibility in the thing that I work for my entire life. You can't force me to do something that I don't want to do. There's nothing that you can offer me. The only thing that you can do is believe in me and then let me leverage whatever power and prowess you got from your platform in order to continue to push my message. Other than that, I'm not interested. Listen, I hear y'all in the chat. Some people said 10 million, I'm on the beach. Look, bro, let me tell you something. The novelty of it wears off. It wears off. Honest to God. Honest to God. When you get to a certain point and you drove the cars and you went to the places, and this is why I encourage people to crash out early or to have failed experiences early. When you get to a certain space in your life, I leap at the bag. You don't think that I didn't have people reach out to me? You don't think that I've had Viacom and MTV reach out to me before and I turned them down? I leap at it. I can pull up the receipts right now. You know I'm the receipt king. I have no problem with it whatsoever. You don't think that they pay attention to what it is, what content creators is on the rise? You don't think that they aware of what's happening out here in these streets? You don't think they know who hot? You don't think that they know who coming? You don't think that they paying attention, that they try to recruit you? For what? Listen, the thing that you got to ask yourself, and then I want to get into this real estate. The thing that you got to ask yourself is, at what point do you get to a certain part of life to where you can't be bought anymore? And I'm not saying that money isn't important. I'm not saying that being secure isn't important. What I'm saying is it so important that you would do something that you wouldn't normally do in order to get it? Somebody said even for $100 million. I will take $100 million if it allows for me to continue to push forth with the thing that I think is making the most sense as far as what we're supposed to talk about. I believe in getting paid for what it is that I do for a living, but you can't give me $100 million to shut up. That's what I'm saying. You can't say, okay, well, read from this script now. I gave you $100 million and I read from. You can't do that. I have to do it the way that I want to do it. So do I believe in getting fairly compensated for whatever it is that I do? Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm not ever going to change the way that I communicate, what I say, what I think, how I talk about it, and whatever, so on and so forth, just because you gave me some money. I believe in good business transactions. I don't believe in pushing agendas. Not for you. I believe in pushing the agenda that I believe in. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that money isn't good. I'm saying that all money ain't good. All money ain't good, bro. Ash says, AD, these liberal folks think Trump is bad. Vivek says, take it a step further. Yesterday at America Fest, he told Van Jones, F you like, oh, send that to me. Send that to me. Man, let me tell you something, bro. I'd rather die broke. Turn down an M? I don't need no fucking $1 million. I done already spent that. I spent that out of my personal account last year. Listen, bro. Let me tell y'all something. I see y'all in the chat. I love interacting with the chat. Let me tell you something, bro. I'd rather die broke than sell my soul. I will rather die broke because I already experienced it. I already lived it. I'm cool. I would rather die broke than sell my soul. You can't buy a soul, bro. You can't buy me. I know that y'all would do anything. You would let a man touch you. You would go and read off a teleprompter that you know is going to drive your people into despair. You would go and sell poison in your community, and you would do all of this other type of stuff. Listen, bro. You can't take all money ain't good money. Don't y'all see what's happening to these people that got to pay the piper today? Don't you see what's happening to Diddy? He said he was a billionaire. Don't you see what happened to Ye? They took it from him the minute that he decided to wake up and stop having a conversation based off of what they thought made the most sense. The minute that Kanye wouldn't be quiet, they took it from him. And y'all turned on him. $1 million? Stop, man. Stop, bro. Stop. Y'all do it for anything. $1 million? $1 million? Y'all sell yourselves out for $1 million? You would sell your brother out for $50. You would sell your homeboy out for $50, wouldn't you? You would tell on him, sell him out, throw him under the bus, have no love for him. Matter of fact, you know how I know that y'all would do it and why it's so bad for y'all? Because y'all sell y'all homies out for a hoe. Y'all sell y'all homeboys out for a chick. A chick turned you against your brother. A chick made you leave your mama and throw your people under the bus. For some box, you set your homie up. I know y'all do it for anything. You would turn your back on somebody for $50, bro. Don't tell me about what integrity is. Y'all do it every day. 187 says, don't sell out. They can't pay you priceless. Listen, as long as I got my people, as long as y'all rocking with me, I got my 2,000 people that roll with me hard. The bag chasers is rolling with me. I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm straight. Anastasio says, invite Vivek onto the show. I'll try. I don't know if he's going to come. He might be too big now. Next Level MF says, don't sell out, buy in. Yep, buy the company. Don't let them give you nothing. Take equity. Patrick Hill says, hello, God bless. Do you think an AI certificate is worth it? I think that you need to go and get a degree. Colorado Rick is in the building, says, hey, Anton, you saved me about 10 grand. Thank you. I'll explain later. Shout out to Colorado Rick in the building. Jamal Park says, you see Pope Francis approving same. No, send it to me so we can have a conversation about it tomorrow. Send it to me. Email it to me. AntonDaniels413@gmail.com. AL says, what about for 100% ownership in Apple or Tesla? Dog, I'm not selling my soul for nobody. There's no amount of money that you should be able to offer somebody in order to sell their soul or to sell their morals and integrity. I know some of y'all will walk through that door. I know some of y'all will walk through that door. I believe in getting rich, but I believe it's the right way to do it. Dark 80s man says, you on your Charleston White. Shout out to my brother from another mother, C. White, out here doing great things. I love that man. I think he's one of the greatest of all time. Let's continue over with the show. So, Grant Cardone is going viral, and he's basically saying, let's get to the money, y'all. He's basically saying that there's going to be, this is going to be the greatest transition upending in his lifetime with regard to real estate. I want to see what he got to say. I have not seen it. I got a couple different videos that I want to share with you guys, and then we're going to break it down. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications.
Well, real estate struggles are real. Home buyers and sellers alike feeling a massive struggle to close deals or make money. And if you need yet another sign of turmoil, 45% of U.S. real estate agents are struggling to pay rent on their offices. Here to react is private equity fund manager and real estate investor Grant Cardone. Welcome, Grant. So tell me why.
Tell me you don't know who it is that you're interviewing without telling me you don't know who you're interviewing. At the very least, go and look up. If you know he coming on your show, at least look up his name. His name isn't Grant Cardone. It's Grant Cardone. Talk about being a pretty face, but don't have no brain inside of that airhead. Good God. Grant Cardone. The producers ain't tell you how to produce this boy's name? Good God.
Why are real estate owners and agents not able to pay the rent? What is going on?
Well, because, Rachel, the Fed single-handedly has killed the housing market. The Fed will make more renters in this country in the next 2 years than it has in the last 50 because mortgage applications are at all-time lows. Mortgages are double what rent is today. And it doesn't surprise me that real estate agents are feeling the brunt of this. Back in June of 22, Jerome Powell said that the middle class, everyday people would disproportionately feel the pain of higher interest rates in his attempt to control inflation. He has not controlled inflation. He has failed miserably. What he has actually done is create it and, in the meantime, stop the housing industry.
What would you recommend he do?
Well, what he should do is get out of the way. There's no time in history in my lifetime that the Fed actually controlled interest rates. Supply and demand is what controls interest.
You said in your lifetime. The only tool that the federal government have in order to fight inflation is to raise interest rates. I have to disagree with Grant Cardone on this one. I do have to disagree with Grant Cardone, but I want to hear the rest of what he has to say because I need to understand the entire context. I disagree with Grant Cardone 100% on this one, but let's continue.
Rates. As long as people are spending their money, that means they want that product or service. At what point it gets to a price where I no longer find it valuable, I will no longer continue to purchase that.
You lie? Nope, that's not true, Grant. People buy things because they're marketed it to them in order to do so. Think about it. It's inherently bad for you to have a 30-year mortgage. The banks have marketed it to you through other people in order to incentivize you to do so. It's inherently bad to carry debt. Debt is literally the enemy of wealth. Now, there are people that are able to leverage debt, obviously, and so we're not going to talk in a vacuum or just say that all debt is bad. But ideally, consumer debt is bad, and then holding on to something longer than you have to in order to justify being able to do it just because everybody else is doing it is an inherently bad thing, all right? So they marketed it to you even though you got the ability to get 10-year mortgages, 15-year mortgages, pay it off early, get smaller houses in order for you to be able to manage and then do things better for your family long term. But we hold on to these things and then we justify it and say, well, getting a mortgage is better than getting rent and everybody getting 30-year mortgage. But I think what's happening in this conversation, if we being honest, and I absolutely love Grant Cardone. I love his mindset. I think that he's really, really good at what it is that he does. I don't necessarily agree with every single business practice that he has, but I think that he has a dog in a fight. And this is the reason why he's incentivized to have this conversation, because it's difficult for you to continue to compete with institutional investors, A, and then B, you're also incentivized because you are a landlord. And your entire business model is predicated on the idea that you have renters that can afford to pay for and then cash flow your property. And so if the interest rates are higher, it actually means that it's more difficult for institutional investors to continue to do what they do as far as mortgaging the properties instead of buying them outright, because then they have to continue to support the mortgage, property taxes, maintenance, and so on and so forth. And they don't have enough cash flow to cover that, which then put them at a deficit. And so I think that Grant Cardone, in my opinion, has a dog in a fight. And so he's saying that you need to continue to lower interest rates so we can finance more properties, which then continue to drive up inflation. And then it prevents people from being able to get into homes. Now, listen, you got to catch 22. You're going to have a situation where either the interest rates are going to be high. And let me just be honest. He's saying in his lifetime, interest rates have been way higher but people just don't want to spend the money or live where they're supposed to live. And so it's very difficult for them to be able to have this conversation in honesty. Absolutely, rates being at 0% raises up inflation. When you make money super cheap, it makes the cost of whatever the product is much more affordable. And so way more people going to jump into it that shouldn't be into it in the first place. And he's right. He's absolutely right. The Fed did say, and I warned you all of this a long time ago, that inflation will be affecting you. Inflation will be affecting your lifestyle, that you are going to suffer. And that is the way that we have to do it because, and I'm not saying that that's the only way because they aren't doing it completely correct in my opinion, but you are going to have to suffer and you got to rip the Band-Aid off. And all we seeing happening right now, and this is what's really going to happen in my opinion, I believe that you're going to see a lot of people get caught with their pants down because everybody that thought that they was good when it came to investing in real estate, they're going to have to pay the piper. You got to pay the piper because you're not really what it is that you think that you are or what you say that you are. And so everybody keep telling you, hey, man, go ahead and get into the real estate industry, but they don't know the context behind why it is that you mitigate risk, why you don't want to hold on to this particular type of property, why you don't want to necessarily invest in this particular avenue because it's not going to be ideal for you. You can't just keep speculating. You can't just keep trying to flip because you got these hard money loans that's at these high interest rates, and then you can't get builders or whatever. So you know what I seen during the pandemic? Lumber prices was 4 times of what they are today. And instead of getting $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 in lumber, you would have to pay $100,000, $120,000, $160,000 in lumber. People were paying $150,000, $200,000 over asking for the property because money was too cheap. People are not inherently willing to make smarter decisions because they just want that free money. What you're going to see in real estate over a period of time, and they don't want people to have their own opinion. They don't want people to go bust. They want to continue to keep this whole thing afloat, but it's just built on a house of cards. You have to have a correction in the industry in order to get it to where it's supposed to be. And in order to get it to where it's supposed to be, you can't keep giving out free money, cheap money. You can't keep giving out free money and cheap money, in my opinion.
And people want homes. People want to live in a single family home. I don't personally think it's a great investment. I've said that many, many times. I've gotten ragged out on it, but he should step aside, get out of the way, let the market do its thing. Interest rates will have to come down in order for pricing to come down.
That's right.
This is actually a contradiction.
Pricing exploded during the pandemic. It's the exact opposite happened. Pricing exploded during the pandemic. Everybody was refinancing. Everybody was trying to go out and buy a home. And then you combine that with the fact that everybody was home, which was the perfect storm for banks to make a whole lot of money at that particular time with all of the fees that was associated with it. Realtors was killing it. People was paying it. I absolutely stopped. I didn't buy nothing. During the pandemic, the only thing I bought was land, and I was paying cash for it. And everybody called me crazy. I have no risk. I have no exposure. And then I spent the majority of the rest of my stuff paying off everything that I ever had. I'm telling you, listen, it's not unaffordable to be able to get a home. It's unaffordable to be able to get the home that you think that you deserve in a space that you want to buy it in for the interest rates that they're assigning to it.
But when interest rates come down, mortgage applications will go up and people will start selling their homes.
Well, the World Economic Forum had this famous commercial where they talked about the Great Reset, and they said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. And you're seeing that happening. You're saying that we are becoming a renter nation. I say it's by design. Explain what you mean by it.
The rents in this country, the average rent, as much as people complain about them, we have 12,000 units. The average rent's about $1,800. And as much as they complain about it, the mortgage on a similar home in that same neighborhood would be double that, plus insurance, and plus a PMI, which is
private mortgage insurance, because you didn't put 20% down. So you put 3.5% down. And so as a result, we get it. So again, that's why I said he got a dog in a fight. What he's basically saying and what he's communicating is that it doesn't make sense for us to be able to rent it out at the rates that we would rent it out when we're trying to buy more properties, but the interest rates is too high to where we wouldn't be able to cash flow the property. Let me slow it down, break it down to you from a C student's perspective. He's saying that if the rents are A, but if people want to mortgage the property and then they want to try to rent it out, B, but the cost to actually buy the property, pay the mortgage, pay PMI at 3.5% down, also with insurance, also with property taxes and maintenance, because you can't cash flow the property, it's hard to be able to pass that cost over into the renter as far as the total cost of home ownership. And so you in a hole, which then makes it being a landlord that much more difficult, which disrupts a lot of people like him business model, which is why they want cheap money. It's easier for them to be able to find and finance a property, cash flow it, and then also raise the equity up that they have into it in order to then pull the equity out of it and buy another property. They don't want to do it the slow way. They want to do it. They want to grow. Growth. They care about growth, and cheap money actually impedes on that growth.
Mortgage insurance on the mortgage itself. So it's unaffordable for people to own a home today. And that means you will rent, you will literally own nothing and be happy about it.
Why would he be advocating for this when this is literally the business model that he wants?
Now, the apartment complexes that are being built today provide such crazy great amenities that it is actually for new generations of people. It's actually an alternative that's not economic, but actually desirable for them to actually live someplace for 10 or 24 months at a time rather than hunker down for 30 years.
Yeah. Well, these hedge funds.
Think about that. Hunker down for 30 years. That sounds crazy to me. Hunker down for 30 years. Can you imagine? Yo, in my mind, it just never made sense to me. I cannot imagine paying something for 30 years. I'm 41 years old. That means if I finance something for 30 years, then I will be 71, and I would have paid more than triple for the property that I decided that I wanted to finance, all in the order of trying to say that I own a home. 10, I can understand. 15, I get it. I can stomach 15. 30, nigga, I only got one life. I only got one life, bro. 30 years. 30 years? God, I can't do it. I can't do it, y'all.
The private equity firms are buying up property and then, making them into rentals. And we're seeing, as you said, less and less people owning their home, which always was the American dream.
I seen they doing 40s now.
And this is.
Go ahead. Last thought.
Yeah, I just want to say that we're entering the greatest real estate correction in my lifetime. It will not include single family homes, but it will include office, which we're already seeing that damage, and we're going to see it across the entire apartment complex. It's going to be a great opportunity for individuals, regular everyday people, to actually grab trophy real estate from institutions. This has never happened in this country.
Somebody said, Anton, he's a professional. Here, let me read that right there. Anton, he's a professional. You're not. Consumer debt is in credit card, car loans, etc. are very bad. He is a professional. Are you? No, I'm not a professional. I'm just broke. Listen, I'm tapped. I'm broke. I don't know no better. Don't listen to me. I'm just giving my unprofessional opinion about real estate because I don't know no better. So you're right. I'm sorry. I apologize, Becky Gillatory. I apologize. I do not know. I don't have any understanding. I just own 17 properties. Just bought three more pieces of land. I'm trying to secure this commercial deal right now. I own all of my properties outright with no mortgage. I am also developing land, and I'm also building my first home, which I'm documenting not only for the Bag Chasers, but I just released a video on it. On my other Anton Daniels channel. I actually have the developers, the framers coming out today. They're supposed to be there. As a matter of fact, let me call and find out if the framers are there today. Because I'm paying cash for everything. So Hey, did you get back towards Maddox?
Yes,
Is the framers out there today?
I just left there.
Are they there?
Yes, yes,
So the framers are working?
yes.
Whoo! All right, good. Did you talk to Robert to get a new quote on the new framers? Because I know that the quote that we got with the old framers is different.
He said he's gonna send it to me.
All right, I'm gonna call him real quick.
Okay.
All right, bye. I know that Grant is professional. I can't touch him, but all I can do is try to figure out my own little space in this world. No, he'll call me back. He just texts me. All right, so when he calls me back, I'll be sure to share that phone call with you, and then we'll go from there. So, but I honestly, I don't know. I'm figuring out as I go, and so I'm sharing the progress with you guys in order to be able to have this conversation. All right, so I don't know. I know that Grant is into it. He's into it. I'm just giving my little lowly opinion. That's it. Let me read some of the super chats, and then I want to share one more thing with you guys before we get up out of there. Hold strong, bro. I believe in you. Oh, it ain't nothing to hold strong on. We winning over here. We doing really, really well. Sleepy Domain says Austin, Texas is the only city in the nation that became more affordable in 2023. True? I don't know. I've never been to Austin. Austin before. I plan on going down there next year, though. Part of the tour. Counselor Mr. G in the building says, absolutely never sell out. You only get one sold. There is no price for integrity. Correct. Once you experience certain things, it loses its luster. Ash says, Vivek, FU video link sent to you. All right, we're going to review that tomorrow. We're going to get into that. Brittany is in the building, says, welcome to the show. We have Anton Daniels from AntonDaniels.org. Shout out to you. I appreciate you. Wealth Building Journey is in the building, says, the blame for high costs needs to be equally between the Fed because of monetary policy and Congress because of fiscal policy. So, well, Congress don't have no incentive in order to do the right thing because they're going to get their checks regardless. They can't even manage the budget and get that on time every year. You know what I'm saying? Prince Elian is in the building, says, morning, Mr. Anton Daniels. Here's 3 people I think could be great interviews for you in 2024. Vivek, Eric July, a.k.a. Young Ripper, and Judge Joe Brown. I actually got connections with Judge Joe, so I might reach out to him and see what he's talking about. I don't know how it would be relevant, but, you know, one of the things is I have to, coming up in the next year, and make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. One of the things is I'm trying to separate the interviews between the ones that are exclusively for the Patreon members and ones that's 100% for what it is that we do publicly. You know what I'm saying? So we'll figure that out. Anyways, let's get into this last segment of the show. This part is important, right? And the reason why I want to have this conversation with you guys, I'm going to read that super chat shortly. The reason why I want to have this conversation with you guys is because a lot of people don't understand how money works. It's not that we know or we hear the talking points online that says, well, cars depreciate, they're whatever, so on and so forth. Or we hear conversations about this or that or whatever. It's that when we go into it and we start to deep dive into certain things that's happening out here in these streets, a lot of people will say, well, cars aren't an asset. Well, it depends on how you use it. I'll get to it. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's look into the CNBC series in which they break down how cars and why cars depreciate so fast.
A car is one of the biggest purchases
Cardone,
a person will make in their lifetime. But unlike a house, a car starts losing value right away. Literally, as you drive it off the lot. You could keep it spotless inside and out, give it regular maintenance, and protect it against every ding, dent, and scratch. and it'll still lose value. Depreciation, the rate at which that happens, is one of those numbers everyone in the automotive world thinks about. Consumers, automakers, and the massive used car market, which makes up somewhere around 40 million sales each year, more than double the sales of new cars. But in 2020, something strange started happening, turning the car market upside down.
Used vehicles were actually increasing for about 2 years, which would...
The reason why used vehicles, and again, I haven't seen this yet, but I've seen this video available in order to comment so I can get my own commentary. The reason why used vehicles skyrocketed was because there was less availability of new cars during the pandemic, which was happening in 2020, 2021, and 2022, right? Remember, the pandemic basically started in the beginning of 2020 at the end of 2019. And so what happened was, because of logistics, supply chain shortages, no workers on the line, and all of this other type of stuff, you had the semiconductor chip shortage, you had the docks, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these cars is getting shipped over and so on and so forth. Plants had to shut down, and so the inventory of vehicles that was available, which again played into inflation, it was absolutely dire. And so the value of cars actually went up as far as the used car market, because people still wanted vehicles and they had all of this free money. And then you also combine it with the fact that interest rates was super low at the time, and the Fed wanted to keep the supply of money, and it was giving y'all stimulus checks, right? And so everybody was like, well, I want to go and buy homes, I want to buy cars. And so the value of those things shot up. Everything, the value of every single thing shot up, because there was a shortage of availability of new cars and a semiconductor chip shortage. So the environment by which you exist in will largely feed into what the value of something is. There are certain cars, for example, that hold their value regardless of whether or not it's a new car or it's a used car. Similar to watches. My watch is more available after or is more valuable after I purchased it, and even after I wore it, because the value of it is based off of the demand of it, right? And so it holds its value. It's a reason why certain automakers, say Lamborghini, they make a limited amount, but then they still make sure that they can scale up as much as possible. They make a limited amount of their vehicles because the value in it is the scarcity of it, right? And so when you have mass producers, mass manufacturers, or whatever, so on and so forth, then the value of it is going to go down because the market is then flooded with it. Even the diamond market, right? The diamond market, the reason why y'all value diamonds so much is because there's companies that literally withhold the amount of diamonds that's available on the market in order to artificially inflate the price of it, right? But as soon as you drive it off the lot, especially when there's a large availability of it, the value of it goes down. Basic understanding of how money works. If you go out and you look for a Ford GT, for example, right? A lot of people not familiar with a Ford GT. Ford GTs hold their value. They actually are worth more than what you were able to get it for new off the lot. I just recently purchased a 96 Impala. Somebody offered me $6,000 more than what I paid for it, and I haven't even drove it 100 miles. Somebody offered me $6,000 more than what I paid for it because the demand of it, and especially considering that they're never making any more of them, is high. There's certain vehicles, certain things, certain quantities, certain items, certain watches or whatever. The value of it is determined by the market, but the scarcity of it also feeds into it.
We've never seen anything like that for the market.
A lot of those trends have abated since, but those odd times led to lasting changes. In the post-pandemic world, there are fewer cars to go around, and prices for both new and used vehicles are still high. That is unlikely to change for a while.
Now, I'm not selling my 96. I'm cool. It's one of my grail cars. I'm probably trying to keep that as long as I possibly can, unless somebody offer me a crazy amount of money for it.
Car buyers want their cars to hold value because it will help them get their money back if they decide to sell it at some point, whether they're trading it for a new one or not. In addition, a lot of car purchases are financed, which means if the resale value of the car dips too low, a buyer could end up paying more for the car
And
than
then you
it is
underwater.
worth.
Yep.
That is what it means to be underwater
Yep.
on a loan. Similarly, automakers want their cars to hold as much value as possible, in part because they know customers care about that. Depreciation also affects how automakers charge for leases, which are an effective way of drawing in new customers, but are expensive to run for automakers. Every car depreciates differently. Luxury cars lose value the fastest. Sedans lose value faster than SUVs, and cars from brands with strong reputations for quality and reliability depreciate more slowly. But on average, cars lose about 10% of their value as soon as you drive them off the lot.
So most of the time, if you don't even put no money down on it, let's say you purchase a new vehicle, right? Let's say you buy a Ford Explorer, right? And you drive it off the lot, and let's say you paid $60,000 for that truck. Then the value of that car is really only $54,000, probably way less than that. $54,000 because the market is also a determining factor. So let me say this also, and there's some other context and caveats that go into it. You also got to take into consideration dealerships and wholesale prices and auction prices, right? What they're looking to pay for it, which is a large determining factor of what the value of it is, in order for them to be able to resell it and make a profit, also determines what the value of your car is. So market manipulation is also a factor. Market manipulation is also a factor. What we value as foreign cars is not as valuable in the spaces where it's produced because it's more rare.
There are a few reasons for this.
One
And
is
Toyota values
that,
do drop.
We like new cars. We just like being in a brand new car, and it's not
That
brand
new car
once
smell,
you take
baby.
it off the lot.
The 10% loss in value corresponds almost exactly with another specific number.
What up,
And
Five
that
Brown
number,
late?
say some insiders, is the primary reason a vehicle's value drops that much in the first day of ownership. Incentives. Most new cars are sold with incentives at one point or another when first purchased by a consumer. An incentive is a discount on a vehicle provided by a manufacturer or dealer to induce people to buy it. Prior to the pandemic, the average incentive on a vehicle was about 10%. That means, on average, new vehicles were sold for about 90% of their MSRP, or
I'll give you an example. Right? Over the past week, I had been trying to search out and find what is very rare as far as a new car. I was searching out a G63, a G-Wagon 63. And every single dealer, there was not one dealer in the United States of America that didn't say, hey, if you want to get a G550, we're going to charge you, the dealership is going to charge you an additional $25,000 or $50,000 for a G63. And one of the reasons why they were able to do that is because the demand for it is so high that people are willing to overpay for the vehicle. I had a buddy that owns a gas station. His name is, I don't want to say what his name is. Hold on one second. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Anton, how you doing?
I'm doing really, really well. So I see we got a new framer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the other guy just couldn't commit. He kept benching us, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done.
I don't know why. I paid all of the contractors way ahead of time.
Well, this guy didn't get any money up front.
Was
Oh,
he?
you didn't pay the,
No. I said pay them way ahead of time. So as soon as they complete the job, I literally pay them within 2 weeks, within a week of them completing the job.
You know what? These guys, they set the terms, and it has nothing to do with it.
I had no problem paying him ahead of time too if he's that good. If you trust him.
Yeah, no, this new guy I know, and he's worked for one of my clients for years and years. So that's why I turned him loose, because that other guy, he could have showed up in a week or 2 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
He just kept telling me he's got staffing issues, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know, he couldn't commit, and I'm just like, I need a commitment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is it? Well, we're not going through the bank, so it's not like we worried about the interest or anything like that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know your rate of just mentioned that you guys weren't. It wasn't a big time sensitive thing, but at the same time, I like to keep things moving because it just doesn't. It's just more work for me. I gotta make 20 phone calls instead of 2. And then texting for months and trying to get this guy to commit. They just don't want to commit. So
Is it going to be a problem with the framers at working at the same time as the people that are pouring the porch? Because I know that the inspector came out Friday and they approved the porch in the garage.
Yeah, no. I actually met the framer this morning at site and we talked about it. So, because there's access through the stair hole if he gets the deck on. If he has to pull that one form off and put the rim joist on there, we can do that because that porch can be poured before or after it's framed.
Okay.
That's not a big deal. It's because if it was an issue and it was a procedure, then I would have held him off. But no, I can get this thing going, the structure. And then, but we were talking about possibly having because the concrete people wants to do all the flat work at the same time. They want to do the basement. Of course, I gave them the job, and I told them, and now they're telling me what they're going to do. But anyways, which makes sense for them to just get it all done at the same time. And I wanted to hold off on the basement because I got to get the steel columns set on those pads and pour the concrete around them. So their framers are starting tomorrow to come out and set the steel, and that'll be done after tomorrow. So we were talking about maybe the end of the week getting the concrete guys to come out there and do it, and then those guys would just hold off or work hand in hand with them.
Okay.
But either way, it's going to get done. Sam's a really good guy. He's accommodating, and he's easy to work with. So.
All right, sounds good.
That's the framer. Sam.
Well, thanks for keeping me up to date.
No, I'm that's my job.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been great to work with, so I'm glad that you keep me up to date.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, because I'm doing my best, but it's frustrating for me when guys tell me they're going to do this, and I tell you, yeah, we're scheduled this, and all of a sudden I go, no, they're not coming, or whatever,
Yeah. All right, well,
everybody I deal with, it's nothing personal, trust me. I mean, it's like years ago, you used to be able to schedule guys, now they schedule you.
Yeah.
There's just still too much work out there, and a lot of them just quit working.
Well, I'm just glad that lumber prices aren't high anymore, so.
Oh, yeah, they were 4 times what they are now.
Yep.
A year and a half ago, so it did come down quite a bit. So, and then I'm trying to get a hold of Green Tech on
for the second property.
Yeah, over on in Waterford.
What about well, I'm gonna have to call you later because I got a crazy idea. All right, you know me, I got crazy ideas. So
I don't like crazy ideas, man. Breaks up the monotony.
Well, listen. So I'm eyeing a couple of commercial B4 zone properties because I want to do and I want to do cash as usual, but I want to build, multi-units at the same time. I want to build apartments. Is that crazy?
No, that's actually smart.
Okay.
Because when it comes to property management, if you can manage, 10 units as opposed to one single family house.
Yeah.
It's more profitable for you.
Okay. All right.
The guys that I know, the big time investors, they don't even do single family anymore. They do multifamily or apartments.
Yeah, I want to do a combination of both, but I'll run it by you. I'll tell you what it is that I'm thinking.
You want. I mean, but you just asked me a question, and it's like, yeah, it's definitely a lot more profitable.
Is that something you can help me with?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I've done apartments buildings for years.
Okay.
And there's different types too. There's common entrances, corridors. There's individual entrances, or ones that have attached garages, ones that don't have carports. Blah blah blah. I've done everything.
Okay.
And then duplexes, 10 plexes, 12 plexes. I did one building. It was 48 units. A couple of years ago. I mean, this thing would have been a landmark if they would have got it built. But this out in Milford, the city fathers got weird, and they just kind of kicked it to the curb because they had invested in some other condos that were going up in the area. This was going to be competition for them. This was going to kick their butts.
Well, this will be my first time.
It's going to be a landmark,
This will be my first time building it from scratch, a multi-unit. So I'm gonna just go from there.
Yeah. Well, you need a pretty decent sized site, because it's all about the density, the zoning. Those are the things you got to do some diligence on. So anything that you're looking at, get me involved, because I'll know exactly, the path that you need to take.
Okay. All right. I'll keep you in the loop.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds
Robert.
good.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
All right,
God
bye.
bless. Bye-bye.
Manufacturer suggested retail price. And so that car you bought seems to drop by 10% in value the moment you drive it off the lot. What is actually happening is that the market is pricing in the probability you received a 10% discount or incentive on that vehicle, even if you didn't.
It's kind of a messy part of how we do things, because we can't go back and see what the average transaction price is, but we know historically what MSRP is on a year, make, model combination, and so we can go see the value of that car against its original MSRP.
Another fact.
You know what the weird thing is that I learned about, for example, like for most vehicles, it's interesting because let's say, for example, you lease a vehicle, right? Especially if you're a business owner, because, the rules for you being able to do write-offs and use it for business specifically differs from how it is that you actually account for it, for the depreciation and everything like that, for purchasing a vehicle, right? And so let's say, for example, you lease a vehicle. It's interesting because every single automaker, except for one that I know of right now, every single automaker allows for you to obviously purchase the vehicle at the end of your lease, except for Tesla. Except for Tesla. Tesla is the only one, and I'm trying to understand it, and I've been researching it because I want to share, the differences with you guys in a future live stream. But Tesla is the only one that, to my knowledge, does not allow for you to actually do a lease buyout after the end of the vehicle. And so for some reason, they see more value in their vehicles and owning them and then reselling them to the consumer at the price that they want to sell them for, even though they've been fluctuating in the prices, versus a traditional automaker that allows for you to lease the vehicle and then you buy it out at the end of it. And the determining factor for whether you buy it out, I actually did this hack inside of the Patreon where I showed you guys the receipts, and that one of the vehicles that I had leased before, and then I went ahead and I purchased it, because what I did was I first did a calculation on other, some of these other sites like the CarMax and the whatever, so on and so forth. And then once I found out what they were going to give me for the vehicle versus what it was that I was going to buy the vehicle out for, it was a no-brainer because it was like free money. It was a money hack. You know what I'm saying? So it's the only vehicle manufacturer that I know that don't allow for you to be able to, buy out the vehicle after the lease. It's weird.
When you sell your car, chances are you are often selling or trading it back in at a dealership. The dealer is going to offer you the wholesale price on the vehicle, what the vehicle would fetch at a wholesale market, like a dealer auction. Those prices are always lower than the retail price.
That's why they always want you to get a trade in, because they're going to basically give you nothing for it, because they know you're going to just finance whatever the new vehicle price is. Yeah, Carvana and all of them.
Sell it to another consumer for, as there are additional costs and margin that need to be absorbed. That lower wholesale value also makes up part of the depreciation consumers see and feel. Higher priced cars have higher markups or variance, so there is an even bigger gap between their retail price and wholesale value.
So the value of your car and the reason why it depreciates so much is based off of essentially what somebody else is willing to pay for it.
But there is a third reason why cars lose value so quickly. An economist named George Akerlof won a Nobel Prize for coming up with this idea. Akerlof's famous paper is called The Market for Lemons, and the idea works like this. In any market, there are information asymmetries. This means sellers know more about the product they are selling than potential buyers do.
Yep.
If you have a car and it's like
Excuse me, sir, I'm going to need you to look into the camera and open up your eyes.
3 days old or 3 months old, and you sell it, why would you do that if the car was a good car? You're probably doing it because the car is a lemon.
From that first day drop, a car's value slides further, about another 10% throughout the first year. In the second and third year, it drops again and again.
One of the worst investments that you can make. So unless you're in a space to where you can actually justify the car purchase, whether it be from a business perspective or you generating so much revenue to where you can actually just let your assets pay for whatever your lifestyle is, then it actually doesn't make sense for you to do that. Until you get to listen, if you just buying a new car because you just want a new car, then I hope you are in a financial space to where you generating so much money in revenue and your assets are throwing off so much money that you can justify it. Because if you're just doing it just because you want a new car or you don't like your old car or you want that new car smell, if you looking at the depreciation costs, especially based off of the type of cars that y'all buy. I know a lot of y'all want the Chargers, the Challenger, the Hellcats and all of that stuff. Be careful. It is a losing proposition, but most people make an emotional decision when it comes to purchasing a car because they want to be seen and impress people that don't care anything about them.
Estimates of how much can vary depending on who you talk to and what they are measuring. Again, a car will fetch less money on a wholesale market than it will on a retail market, and maybe during a transaction between a private
But don't nobody
buyer.
want to sell the car themselves, especially if
In
you
normal
got
time.
money that you still owe on it, because then they got to pay the finance company and then you can get the difference. It's a headache.
A steady supply of new vehicles year after year is enough to drive the value of any given car down. Add to that the normal wear and tear that comes with ownership.
It's like your tires wear out. You may get dings in your door over time. You know, maybe there's a crack in your windshield. Maybe your kid spills juice in the back seat and the upholstery is messed up. And all of that's just wear and tear on a car, which means that it's not worth what it originally was, or to put it back in that state, someone would have to invest money to recondition the car back.
After about 3 years, vehicles on average historically held about 50% of their value. 3 years is a kind of benchmark for the used car market.
And that's crazy to me. The idea that you are willing to, as a person, finance something that you're going to be paying an egregious amount of money in interest for, while also the car itself loses 50% of its value within 3 years on average, is crazy to me. But one thing I know about my people, and two things is for certain: we love wasting money when we don't really have money to waste. We love wasting money when we don't really have money to waste. Yeah, it's a bad situation. It's a bad do. But anyways, I'm going to just leave that there. It's no need in actually going into the whole thing. The idea is that you don't want to invest. A car is not an investment unless you are a business owner and you can leverage that car to make more money. For example, if you were the type of person that is a construction worker, right, or you own a construction company, then you need to be able to haul and carry equipment. If you are in farming or something like that, right? Or if you use the car in order to transport clients back and forth or whatever, if it adds value into your business, you can justify the business cost, even if the value of it goes down a little bit because it's there to make you more money, all right? But on the flip side, depreciation is absolutely a killer in it. And so everything that you do and everything that you purchase, even outside of a car, you want to make sure, and congratulations, Ken J, you want to make sure that whatever it is that you buy, hopefully it appreciates over a period of time. A lot of people say, Anton, well, you spend money on these watches or whatever, so on and so forth. My watches hold value. I can enjoy them. They hold their value. A lot of times they're sentimental because I'm buying them as a result of a milestone moment. But I don't just buy crazy watches. You don't see me going out there going to get a Jacob. And I mean, I heard Jacobs are okay or whatever. But I stick with specific brands that allow for my money to actually hold its value because it goes up in value over a period of time because it's still an asset. So I can wear it, I can enjoy it, but at the same time, I actually, if I wanted to ever get rid of it, I get more money as a result of it, right? Even when I'm purchasing cars and stuff, I purchase them. Well, I'm not going to give y'all all of that game, but in a general sense, I continue to, when I purchase things personally for use, either I have to be making money from it or it has to be retaining its value. All right? Either I make money from it or it has to be retaining its values. Okay? All right. Let me read a few more super chats and then I'm going to get y'all up out of here for the day. Mr. Tamarez says Grant Cardone is being sued for defrauding investors. He was double dipping. Well, we don't know that. We don't know that. I have to do some deep diving. I don't want to just automatically accuse people of doing something. And anybody can sue you. Anybody can accuse you of something, but it doesn't mean it is necessarily true. All right. Daishan, and I do like Grant Cardone. I just disagree with him on a few of his talking points. Daishan says, did you see Chicago is putting migrants on the police force starting in 2024? I did see something about. Hey, send me an article on that because I'll forget it. Make sure you send me an article on that. Thank you, my friend. 187 is in the building, says, big bro, you need wall machine. Just say the word and I'm there. You'll have the roof on 2 weeks. We don't play with work over here. I don't be knowing where you be at, though. We'll talk about it. We'll kick it. I got your number. Prince Elian is in the building, says, I've only owned 2 cars in my entire life. My 96 Civic, purchased new in 95. Do they got spoon engines in them? No, I'm just playing. And 15 Pilot, purchased new in 14. Pay under sticker price and pay both off in a year early. I'll ride them till the wheels fall off. That's smart. That's smart. That means you're not throwing your money away just so you can look good in front of people that don't care anything about you. You have a purpose, and it doesn't mean that having nice things is not a good thing. It means that you're very purposeful with how it is that you use your resources, all right? All right, so listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for continuing to tune in. Tonight, we got the Q show, so make sure y'all tap in. I heard it's going to be a little bit different tonight. Q told me it's going to be a little bit different tonight, so make sure y'all tune into the Q show on the Anton Daniels channel. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all tap in. I need y'all to do me one more favor before we get up out of here, though. Some of y'all caught that spoon engines joke. That's from the first Fast and Furious. Hector was running he was running cars with spoon engines. Listen, y'all. Look, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for continuing to tap in. And we going from there. All right? Make sure that y'all share this with y'all friends and families. We don't want to be successful by ourselves. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace. And get that hate about y'all spirit. I know it's still some dusties that's looking for some attention. Yo, get that hate about your spirit. Get about your mama's basement. Get your money up. Let's run the bag up. Let's take care of the business. You ain't never going to get no money by hating on somebody else. It's called dirty macking. All right? I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace. Oh.